They say your birthday is supposed to be about you. Your favorite meal, your favorite people, maybe even a badly wrapped gift or two that you pretend not to see coming. For me, it started with a simple idea. My wife had a party. A big one. House full of friends, food catered, drinks flowing. She'd been excited, more excited than I was, honestly. At the time, I figured she just liked throwing a party. Then I saw the guest list. Buried between coworkers and cousins was him, her high school flame. The one whose name she'd always said with that annoying little smile like she was tasting nostalgia. The one she used to say was just a funny story from the past. That past was now invited to my future. And apparently, my own birthday wasn't my event anymore. I remember looking at her across the kitchen counter. Why would you invite him? I asked. Oh, come on, she said, her voice dripping with that saccharine tone she reserved for when she knew she was dead wrong. It's been years. We're friends now. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam my fist down or throw the invitation in the trash. I just said this. If he shows up, I won't. She laughed at first, like I was kidding, but I wasn't smiling. I meant it. Every word. I wasn't going to stand in my own house, next to my wife, while the ghost of her past flirted with the idea of being her future again. Then the day came, and I didn't. I watched the party unfold through tagged photos and polite texts from mutual friends. There she was, beaming, standing next to him, champagne in hand. Him, with his hands too close, his smile too easy. The same guy who'd broken her heart once. I guess she missed the way it felt. That night, I didn't call. I didn't text. I packed a small bag and drove 3 hours to nowhere in particular. Slept in the truck. Woke up with the kind of clarity you only get when everything you believed about your life flips upside down. She called. Left voicemails. Said it wasn't a big deal, that I was overreacting. But I wasn't. See, the party wasn't the betrayal. The betrayal was her choosing his comfort over my boundaries. Her need to relive teenage butterflies mattered more to her than my dignity. That's not a mistake. That's a message. And I got it loud and clear. You want to know the kicker? Now, years later, she wants to get back together. After all the silence. After moving on like none of it mattered. After all the late-night regrets finally caught up to her, she wants to crawl back like it was a phase, like I was some stable rock she always meant to return to once the storm passed. But she forgets one thing. Rocks erode. And I've been chiseled into something sharper. She's not coming back to a doormat. She's stepping barefoot into the wreckage of what she broke. After that night, something in me didn't just shift, it cracked wide open. There's this moment, right after the emotional impact of betrayal, where you realize you're standing alone on a battlefield. No bullets flying anymore, but everything still burns. And you look around, thinking maybe someone's coming back for you. A rescue. A voice calling out. But no one does. So you dust off the ash, wipe your hands, and realize you've only got yourself now. That's where I was. I didn't text her the next morning. She sent 3 messages. Then 5. The last one read, I didn't think you'd actually not come. Like it was a bluff. Like my dignity was up for negotiation. I ignored it. Spent the morning in a diner 2 towns over, sipping burnt coffee and reading the news like I hadn't just had my heart broken. A waitress named Carla asked if I was okay. I said yeah. Because what else do you say when your wife throws a party for your birthday and invites the one man who makes your blood run cold? You just say yeah. But inside, I was boiling. I knew I couldn't go back, not yet. I wasn't going to walk through that door like some whipped puppy, pretend it was all fine because technically she didn't do anything. No. She chose something. She chose him. She chose that history over our present. So I stayed gone. 2 days turned into a week. And when I did return, it was only to grab some clothes, a few books, my old guitar, and a photo of my dad. She was there, sitting on the edge of the bed like some romantic tragedy. Her eyes were red. Makeup smudged. Where are you going? She asked, voice cracking like she wanted me to say home. I didn't even look at her. Away from people who mistake betrayal for sentiment. That shut her up. I loaded the trunk, closed the door behind me, and left the key on the porch. People always ask if it was hard. Leaving. Starting over. It wasn't. You know what's hard? Sitting at your own birthday party, shaking the hand of the man who used to make your wife moan in the back seat of a rusted-out Honda while she was still writing your name in cursive on her notebooks. That's hard. Walking away? That was survival. I found a place a couple hours out. Nothing special. Small town. Clean air. A job that didn't involve boardrooms or forced smiles. I rebuilt from scratch, found out I liked silence. Peace. being forgotten by people who never really saw me anyway. 3 years passed. She emailed once on our would-be anniversary. I miss you. I made a mistake. I read it with the same expression you give a stranger's obituary. No emotion, just information. Fast forward to a month ago. I get a letter. A real, handwritten letter like it's the 1800s. Inside? She's divorced. He left her. Apparently, high school sweetheart wasn't so sweet when the lights went out. Shocking, right? And now? Now she's been doing a lot of thinking and realized what she lost and wants to talk. Wants to see me. Says she's willing to work for it. Let me tell you something. There's no returning to a man you chose to humiliate. Not when he's rebuilt himself from the rubble you made. I'm not the same guy who stood in that kitchen asking why. I'm the one who answers how now. How I moved on. How I rose. How I never let her back in. There's something dangerous about a man who's been humiliated and didn't break. Not the kind of danger you read about in headlines. No, I'm talking about the quiet, calculating kind, the man who got dragged through the dirt, stood up, and learned to walk like nothing ever touched him. Because that's what I did. After I left, people took sides, as they always do. Friends who used to say brothers for life ghosted me like I was radioactive. Her version of the story painted me as cold, overreactive, and my personal favorite, emotionally unavailable. That's rich coming from the woman who RSVP'd her ex to my birthday party like it was her senior prom. But I didn't defend myself. I didn't beg for my side to be heard. Let them talk. Let them build a little mythology around me, cast me as the villain if it helped them sleep at night. Because while they were gossiping and speculating, I was grinding, healing, reinventing. I took a job as a mechanic in a small garage just outside town. Clean work. Honest. Gave me time to think too much, some days, but that was the price of clarity. My hands got rough again, my mind sharper. I read philosophy at night and lifted weights in the morning. Kept my phone off more than on. Talked to a few women here and there, but nothing serious. I wasn't ready. Not yet. Trust was a currency I'd watched get counterfeited by the one person who should have protected it most. But I'll admit, some nights, I still thought about her. Not in the way she probably hoped. I didn't long for her. I didn't ache to see her smile again or hear her laugh echo through our living room. No, I thought about the audacity. The gall it took to turn my celebration into her closure party with the guy who had once held the key to her teenage heart. And now she wanted back in, like I was some lost and found item with her name on it. I didn't respond to her first letter. Didn't respond to the second. Then came the voicemail. Her voice, soft, tentative, full of that same syrupy sweetness she used to melt my anger with. Back then, it worked. Now? It sounded like a commercial for a product I'd already returned. Just give me 10 minutes, she said. Please. 10 minutes? After 3 years? After that night? She should have asked for a miracle instead. Still, something in me wanted to see what she looked like. Not in the mirror. In the eyes. I wanted to see if she still had that same self-righteous glow, or if time had carved a little humility into those features. So I agreed. One meeting. Neutral ground. Public place. I picked a coffee shop in the city. Quiet, tucked into a street lined with bookstores and antique stores. The kind of place we used to walk through on Sundays back when our hands fit without effort and her smile didn't feel staged. She arrived in a beige coat, hair tied back, minimal makeup. She was trying to look soft. Real. Like the girl I used to love. I didn't smile when I saw her. Just nodded. Thanks for coming, she said. 10 minutes, I replied. She sat down. Cleared her throat. Looked down at her hands. I messed up, she said. I didn't respond. I thought I was chasing some closure. Some version of myself I left behind. And I hurt you. I see that now. You see that now? I asked. Took you long enough. You see me leave my own birthday party like a stranger, and that didn't do it. She winced. I thought you'd get over it. That's the problem, I said. You thought I'd break and then crawl back. That's what you've always done with people. Test their loyalty by betraying it. Her eyes welled up. I didn't know what I wanted back then. And what makes you so sure now? She reached into her bag. Pulled out an old photograph, us on our second anniversary, holding wine glasses, smiling like we had no idea what the future was planning behind our backs. I keep this in my wallet, she said. I looked at it. Then I looked at her. That's sweet, I said, pushing it back across the table. But I keep something too. What? Boundaries. Then I stood, walked out, and never looked back. She watched me walk away that day like she expected a twist. Like I'd stop, turn around, and say, I still love you. Like the movie would roll credits right there in the coffee shop, fade to black, cue the music. But life isn't a romantic comedy. It's a slow, relentless unveiling of who people really are when the mask slips. And her mask? It cracked the moment she put his name on my guest list. I didn't text after that meeting. I didn't wonder how she felt driving home. I didn't lose sleep imagining what she was thinking. Because by then, I'd already buried the version of me that wanted her back. The man she hurt? He died the night she popped a champagne cork while her ex leaned on the counter in my kitchen, laughing with my friends. You ever have one of those flashbulb memories? Moments so sharp they slice through your sleep. Years later? The party was mine. I remember the shirt I would have worn. The bottle of bourbon I bought myself because she forgot. The card from my sister that never got opened because it was left on a table I never sat at. In the weeks after the cafe meeting, she tried again. A handwritten letter. A voicemail. One email that read, I know I don't deserve a second chance, but maybe we could start with friendship. Friendship? That's rich. You don't stab a man in the back and then offer to be his nurse. I didn't respond, but I did log into our old streaming account and change the password to No Way in Hell 123. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. Now let me tell you where I really found peace. A month after that last message, I was standing on a ladder fixing a broken security light at the garage. The sky was split with storm clouds and my hands were slick with sweat. Below me, a customer watched, arms crossed, nodding in approval. You do solid work, she said. You always this quiet? Or just in deep thought? I looked down. She had paint on her jeans, a dust smear on her cheek, and eyes that didn't flinch when they looked into mine. Little of both, I said. She smiled. Good. I've had enough talkers in my life. Her name was Delegate, ran a small furniture shop across the street. Independent, blunt, and allergic to drama. The kind of woman who fixed her own sink before she'd ever asked for help. She didn't ask about my past. She didn't pry. She just showed up, with coffee, with silence, with presence. And slowly, I started showing up too. But here's the thing, I didn't let her fix me. That wasn't her job. I came to her whole, not hollow. Because I'd already stitched myself up by then. Every lonely night. Every unspoken rage. Every truth I swallowed instead of screamed. It all made me sharper, calmer, more focused, and free. A year later, Del and I went to a mutual friend's wedding. Small gathering. Backyard ceremony. Guess who was on the guest list? Yeah, her. She saw me from across the lawn. I was wearing a suit that actually fit this time. No cheap department store clearance rack. Del beside me in a dress that made her look like the sunset got jealous. My ex walked up. Alone. No ring. No date. Just nostalgia and heels. Hey, she said, eyes flickering between me and Del. Hey, I replied, tone flat as a calm sea before a hurricane. This is Del, I added, turning to the woman who never needed introductions to feel important. My ex nodded, her voice quiet. It's good to see you. I nodded back. It's good to be seen. She stood there, probably waiting for something more. But there was nothing left to say. Her story ended at my birthday party. Everything after was just a footnote. Del touched my hand. Ready to go? Yeah, I said, already walking. We left her there, rooted to the grass, clutching memories like they could buy her a ticket back. They couldn't. Because here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't get forgiven. It gets replaced. Time has a funny way of turning quiet into a weapon. You leave the door closed long enough, they start pounding on it, thinking noise is the same thing as change. It's not. So when I saw her name pop up on my phone again 6 months after the wedding run-in, I didn't feel a thing. No anger. No nostalgia. Not even curiosity. Just a smirk. Because by then, I knew exactly what was coming. See, regret doesn't show up wearing sackcloth and ashes. It shows up in tight jeans, red lipstick, and a voice that says, I've been doing a lot of soul-searching. It wants to make amends, not because it's sorry, but because it's lonely. And loneliness? That's the tax you pay when you gamble with loyalty and lose. The message read, Can we talk? Just once. I need to clear the air. There are things you don't know. I ignored it. Not because I wasn't interested, but because I already knew. See, the thing about being quiet is people assume you're not watching, not listening, not thinking. But I'd always been thinking. I knew about her job, lost it 6 months after our divorce. Office affair rumors have a way of sticking when the HR director was your +1 at a party he wasn't invited to. I knew about the apartment, 1 bedroom, 2nd floor, no balcony. Her new life didn't come with the perks she thought it would. And I knew about him. Yeah, the high school hero. Turns out he couldn't keep a job. Couldn't keep a promise either. He bailed after 9 months, probably when the fantasy cracked and he realized real life came with bills and baggage. I even knew he was still married when she brought him to my party. Because some truths, they don't knock politely. They bust through the door years later with receipts in ruin. Dell and I were remodeling the garage when I found out. She laughed when I told her the ex was reaching out again. Let me guess, she said, wiping sawdust off her cheek. She found Jesus, a therapist, or a mirror? I grinned. Maybe all three. Probably cracked the mirror. Dell handed me the wrench. Then cracked the door. Let her look inside one last time. So I did. One last message. One last meeting. At the same coffee shop. Full circle. She walked in, nervous, shoulders tight, hair tied back like she thought that would make her look serious. I didn't stand up. She sat across from me and reached for her cup like it might anchor her. Thank you for coming, she said. Clock's ticking, I replied. She looked down. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For what I did. For how I made you feel. I waited. That night, the party, she continued. I thought I needed closure. I thought seeing him would help me understand who I really loved. I let that sit a minute. You already knew who you loved, I said. You just wanted to see if you could still have him. And me. She blinked hard. I was confused. No, you were selfish. Big difference. She swallowed. I thought I could fix things with you. Now. I leaned forward slightly, hands folded. Let me tell you something about fixing things. She straightened. You don't get to set fire to a bridge, then complain you can't cross it. You chose him. You chose you. And when the fantasy collapsed, you looked back at me like I was the safety net. I'm not your safety net. I'm the man you bet against. And you lost. The silence after that? Perfect. She nodded slowly, tears threatening, but I could tell she understood. Really understood. And I don't know what hit harder for her, that I'd moved on without her, or that I didn't even need her apology anymore. She got up and walked out. No tantrum. No, please. Just a ghost leaving a house it no longer haunts. After that final conversation, I did what any man does when the past finally dies for good. I lived. Not just survived. Lived. It's strange, you know? The peace that comes when the war is over and you realize the worst thing that ever happened to you is the best damn wake-up call you never asked for. I didn't text her. Didn't wonder if she cried that night. Didn't care if she finally got it. I was too busy building something real. Dell and I bought a house, an old place on the edge of town, all creaky floors and rusted hinges, the kind of fixer-upper most people pass on because they can't see past the work. But I loved the work. Every strip nail, every board I replaced with my own hands. It was therapy in disguise. Funny thing about rebuilding a home, it mirrors how you rebuild yourself. You take the weak spots and reinforce them. You find the cracks and seal them. You throw out the rotten and salvage the strong. Every room had history, but none of it was mine. Not yet. So I rewrote it. And Dell? She was right there beside me, in worn jeans and a smudge of paint on her cheek, humming while she painted trim like it was just another Sunday. No drama. No games. No comparing me to a memory with better abs and a worse heart. One night, we sat on the porch drinking coffee out of chipped mugs. The sun was dipping low. Wind in the trees. You could hear the faint thump of a party down the street. She leaned back and asked, "You ever think about her?" I took a sip. Shrugged. Sometimes. Like you think about a lesson that burned your fingers. You don't hate the fire. But you sure as hell don't stick your hand back in it. Dell smiled at that. She doesn't know what she gave up. Doesn't matter anymore, I said. Because I know what I gained. And yet, karma has a longer memory than people give it credit for. One Saturday morning, I got a letter forwarded from my old address. The envelope was cream-colored, elegant script on the front. I thought it was a wedding invitation. It was not. It was a lawsuit notice. Turns out, my ex had married Mr. High School Hero after all. And after he drained her savings, cheated on her again, and vanished to Vegas with a yoga instructor and a timeshare scheme, she filed for divorce. Only he countersued. And now she was in a mess. A deep one. Assets frozen. Lawyer fees piling. The apartment in foreclosure. Guess who co-signed her lease back when she couldn't prove income? That's right. Me. I had cleanly removed myself from her world, but some ghosts leave paperwork. So I called a lawyer. Paid him more than I ever thought I'd spend to make absolutely sure she couldn't tie another rope around my ankle. And when that was done, I sent her a letter of my own. Just one line. I co-signed for a future I was supposed to be part of. Now that I'm not, you're on your own. Cold? Maybe. But let's not forget her. She handed out my dignity like party favors. She chose nostalgia over loyalty. She wanted me to sit at my own birthday table while her ex charmed our guests like it was his moment. This was just the check finally arriving for the meal she ordered on my tab. You know, when people betray you, they think the story ends when you walk away. Like their part of the script gets to roll credits while you disappear into the background, some quiet casualty with a broken heart and nothing but a memory. But I didn't vanish. I documented. See, I may be a lot of things, but forgetful isn't one of them. And while she was tossing my dignity into a punch bowl and flirting with the ghost of prom night past, I was collecting notes, emails, financial receipts, lease agreements, screenshots, and that little harmless favor I'd done co-signing her apartment when she couldn't prove income turned out to be a loaded gun with my name engraved on the handle. My lawyer, Dean, sharp as a scalpel and twice as precise, read through the documents and leaned back in his chair. She's hoping the court sees you as a fallback. Emotional coercion, dependency, history. She's building the illusion you were never really out of her life. I laughed. Cold. Dry. That's because she never really saw me as a person. Just a safety net. One she could fold up and stash until she needed it again. Dean tapped his pen. We'll bury this. But just a heads up. Her lawyer might come for your character. Try to paint a different version of you. I smiled at that. Oh, I said. Let them try. A week later, her lawyer sent a letter filled with flowery language about joint responsibility, past commitments, and my personal favorite, ongoing emotional entanglement. They wanted money. They wanted a statement of character. They wanted me to step back into the trap. Instead, I responded with a dossier. 47 pages of timestamped evidence that not only proved I hadn't been involved in her life in years, but that she had actively and repeatedly misrepresented her finances to secure her lease. Remember that burner account she used to keep some things private back when we were married? Yeah, I remembered too. Turns out she used it to funnel a few cash advances during her little romantic resurgence with Mr. Prom King. And she listed me as the emergency contact. Rookie mistake. I sent the packet with a single message. You betrayed me once. That was your free pass. This time, you're going to wear it. After that, things went quiet. Real quiet. I wasn't trying to ruin her. I didn't need to. I just needed the truth to walk into the room wearing a spotlight and a lawyer's grin. Meanwhile, Dell and I, we flourished. The business grew, garage repairs, custom builds, even some restoration work on old classics. We'd stay late sometimes with music playing and the door open, her sipping wine while I worked under the hood. One night, she looked up from her sketch pad and said, "You know what I love about you?" I wiped my hands. The part where I fixed the alternator without setting anything on fire? She smiled. No, it's that you never chased revenge. You just outgrew it. I paused. That's the thing about betrayal, I said. If you feed it, it grows fangs. If you ignore it, it starves. But if you document it, it buries itself. She laughed. You're dark. No, I said. I'm free. It was a Thursday morning when I got the call. Unfamiliar number. Blocked ID. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail. But something made me answer. Hello. A pause. Then, you probably don't want to hear from me. The voice was low, quiet, fractured. I didn't recognize it at first. Not because I'd forgotten it, but because it was missing the one thing it always carried before control. It was her. I stayed silent. She took that as permission. I lost everything. The apartment. The settlement. He drained my accounts, and then he left the state. I had to file for bankruptcy. They're garnishing my wages. I can't. Her voice broke. I can't even afford a lawyer. Still, I said nothing. Not out of cruelty. Not because I wanted her to suffer. Because I was listening. And in that silence, I heard the exact moment she realized she wasn't calling an old lover. She was calling a witness. I know you hate me, she said, trying to scrape together dignity from the bottom of a broken voice. But I need help. Just something. You know I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate. That's where she was wrong. She would ask. Because she had asked before. She'd just always disguised it in affection. Now that the mask was off, all that remained was the habit. I finally spoke. Did he call you darling? She went quiet. What? Prom King, I said. Did he call you darling? That's what you used to call me. Just wondering if it was a recycled script or if he got a new line. There was a beat of silence. Then she whispered, "You're cruel." I nodded, though she couldn't see it. "No," I said. "You just don't recognize clarity because it doesn't bend anymore." Then I hung up. That night, Dell found me on the back porch, staring into a sky full of stars and smoke from the fire pit. She handed me a beer, sat beside me. "You okay?" she asked. I shrugged. She called. Dell didn't flinch. Didn't ask why. Just waited. "She's ruined," I said. Everything she built on lies fell apart. She wanted help. "Did you give it?" I looked at her. Steady. Unblinking. "No." Dell didn't smile. She didn't need to. Instead, she leaned her head against my shoulder. "Good. You're not her fixer. You're your own man now." And in that moment, I felt it. Not vindication. Not triumph. Peace. You see, betrayal teaches you two things. Who someone really is when they think you're disposable. Who you really are when you stop being afraid of letting them go. I used to think revenge meant getting even. Turns out, it just means getting free. And I was. Peace is a tricky thing. You think once you've earned it, bought it in blood, silence, and sheer emotional discipline, it's yours to keep. Like a deed with your name on it. But life doesn't give deeds. It gives leases. And sometimes, it renovates the past just to see if you'll fall for the old floorboards again. So when the email came, I almost didn't open it. Subject line: a favor for an old friend. It wasn't her. It was him. The ex-prom king. The life ruiner. The same guy who charmed his way into my wife's world like a returning war hero, then bailed when the house caught fire. Now he wanted my help. Let that sink in. The email was short, polite, sickeningly casual. "Hey man, long time, huh? Look, I'm reaching out because I know things between you and her name were tense. But I've got this opportunity coming up and I could really use a professional reference. You always struck me as solid, no nonsense. I know we didn't connect much, but I'm hoping you'll consider doing me this one. A professional reference. From me. The man he cuckolded in his own home. The man whose birthday party he showed up to like he was guest of honor while the hostess, my wife, stood glowing beside him like she was 17 again." I sat with that email open for a long time. Read it 5 times. Thought about responding. Instead, I called Dean, my lawyer. "Can I legally tell this guy to choke on a paper shredder?" I asked. Dean laughed. "Not advisable. But you can respond with factual observations about his conduct, character, and prior actions. Just be sure to use terms like alleged and historically unreliable." "Noted," I said. So I replied. Not out of spite. Out of principle. Because some men need to be reminded who they are. And who they stepped on to get there. Here's what I sent. To his name. Subject: a favor for an old friend. "Hey, interesting to hear from you. I wasn't aware we were on speaking terms, but I'll bite. You're asking for a reference, so here's mine. In the time I've known you, you've consistently demonstrated a pattern of short-term charm followed by long-term irresponsibility. You seem to mistake charisma for character and attention for loyalty. You've damaged relationships, ignored consequences, and left wreckage where there should have been growth. I'm not saying you're incapable of change. Just that, to date, you've made it clear you prefer convenience over accountability. I wouldn't recommend you to a lemonade stand, let alone a professional organization. Best of luck." Me? I never got a reply. Didn't need one. Because sometimes silence is louder than any apology. And sometimes, not getting the job is the consequence. Later that night, Dell saw me typing and asked, "Who's that for?" I told her. She smirked. "You always write like that? Like a guillotine in a necktie?" I shrugged. I used to ask why people hurt me. Now I write the answer down and mail it to them. Dell laughed. God, that laugh. It didn't carry bitterness. Just knowing. Like someone who'd seen her own share of heartbreak, but kept her hands clean. She poured us both a drink. We toasted. To letting ghosts knock, she said. And not answering, I added. You ever look back at a memory and suddenly see it from outside yourself? Like you're watching someone else live through it. Someone dumber? Someone who still believed loyalty was a two-way street? Yeah, that happened. Not from her. Not from him. From my best man. His name was Colin. We've been friends since college. Not just friends, brothers. Road trips. Groomsmen. Built furniture together the night before my wedding because the bed frame she ordered had to be perfect. He was there for all of it. So when the betrayal hit and the marriage went up in flames, I never doubted Colin. He said all the right things. That was a messed up move. You didn't deserve that. I always thought she had a thing for nostalgia, never thought she'd actually do it. But here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just come from enemies. Enemies stab you in the chest. Friends stab you by accident, and then pretend it never happened. I was at the hardware store when I saw them. 2 aisles down. Colin and her. Not hugging. Not flirting. Just talking. But it was the kind of talking that had the weight of history. Her arm on his sleeve. His eyes downcast, like a man mid-confession. I didn't approach. Just watched. And I waited. That night, I called him. Run into anyone lately? I asked. Pause. Not really. Why? Another pause. I didn't even need the answer. Silence, at that moment, was guilt and surround sound. Colin, I said calmly, I saw you. With her. It's not what you think. Classic line. Then what is it? She's been going through a lot. She reached out. Said she didn't have anyone. I figured I'd meet her. Just talk. Nothing else. Why lie about it? Because I knew you'd react like this. No, Colin. You lied because you knew I was right. He tried to backpedal. Said he was just being supportive. That everyone deserves someone to talk to. That she was a wreck, not herself, not doing well. I let him finish his speech. Then I said this. You stood next to me on my wedding day. Gave a speech about honor and loyalty. About how you'd always have my back. And now you're grabbing coffee with the woman who knifed me in mine. That's not friendship. That's failure. He stammered. Tried to clean it up. I ended the call. And just like that, another name crossed off the list of people who still had a place in my new life. Dell found me in the garage later, sanding down an old cedar board. What's up? She asked. Colin's done. She didn't ask why. Didn't need to. Instead, she said something that hit harder than any betrayal ever could. That's the last remnant, isn't it? I stopped sanding. Looked at her. What do you mean? She stepped forward. I steady. You've been burning the wreckage. One piece at a time. Her. Him. The ghost of that birthday. And now? The last man who stood beside you when you still believed the world was fair. I nodded. It was true. Colin was the last thread connecting me to that old life, the last person who still had a hand on the wreckage, pretending it could be rebuilt. But I wasn't rebuilding it. I was replacing it. And now, here's the part you didn't expect. I thanked him. Wrote Colin a short message. Just a few lines. Thanks for the reminder. Loyalty isn't a circle, it's a line. And the moment you crossed it, I knew I'd finally walked the full distance from my old life. No hard feelings. Just no room for tourists in this story. No reply. Didn't need one. You ever meet a kid who looks at you like you're bulletproof? That's what happened the first time I met Eli, Dell's nephew. 7 years old. Wore beat-up sneakers and carried a sketchbook like it was a sacred text. Wouldn't say 2 words to strangers, but the moment he saw me working under the hood of a '68 Mustang, he lit up like a 4th of July fuse. What you doing? He asked. I didn't look up. Just handed him a rag and said, helping. He didn't flinch. Didn't hesitate. Just took it and got to work like he'd always been there. Dell and I had been together long enough by then that your family and my family had started to blur. But I never pushed anything. Kids aren't chess pieces, and I wasn't trying to be anyone's replacement. But Eli? That boy didn't need replacing. He needed real. His dad had bailed 2 years ago. Walked out on a Tuesday, never came back. No note. No explanation. Just a truck full of resentment and a trail of missed birthdays. Dell's sister, his mom, was still trying to make sense of it. Eli had stopped asking questions. He just drew. Cars. Tools. Blueprints of machines he wanted to build one day. And the garage? It became his sanctuary. One night, he stayed late while Dell and her sister caught up. Eli sat beside me while I welded a piece of trim back into place on a rusted fender. Sparks flew. He watched in awe. You always fix stuff? He asked. Try to, I said. What if it's too broken? I paused. Took off the mask. Looked him in the eye. Then I make something new. He nodded. Didn't say a word. Just kept watching like he was memorizing the moment. Later that week, he gave me a drawing. It was a car, half classic Mustang, half spaceship. At the bottom, he'd written in messy kid letters. Garrison Garage, where things get better. It hit me harder than any apology ever had. Not because it was flattering. Because it was true. You see, for years, I've been cleaning up the wreckage of betrayal. But now? Now I was building something bigger. The garage expanded. We started restoring vintage vehicles. Teaching local kids about tools and engines. Dell called it the Revival Project, a place where lost things got a second shot. People showed up. Donated. Volunteered. Not for profit. Not for show. Because they believed. Not in the machines. In the message. That pain doesn't define you. What you do with it does. And then came the day Eli asked me a question I never saw coming. We were under the lift, changing out brake pads. He was holding the flashlight like a pro, no fidgeting, just focus. He looked up at me and said, "You think I could be like you when I grow up?" I didn't answer right away, because I was trying to hold my damn breath. I looked at him, serious as steel. That same look I used to see in the mirror after the fallout, the look of someone trying to find something solid to stand on. I set down the wrench. "You're already better than me," I said. "You still believe." That night, Dell came out to the porch, saw me holding the sketch. She sat beside me. "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, just thinking." She waited. That maybe the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. What is it then? Raising someone right. Funny thing about building something real, people start noticing. Not just friends, neighbors, clients. The ones who counted you out? They notice most of all. And just like rot beneath floorboards, the past has a way of creeping back up when the foundation finally feels solid. It started with a reporter. Local paper. Sweet girl named Rachel. Wrote an article on the Revival Project. Featured the shop, Dell, Eli's drawing. Even snapped a photo of me next to the Mustang with grease on my hands and a half smile I didn't know I still had in me. Headline read, "From broken to rebuilt, the man behind the wrench." It was just a piece. One story in a small paper. But the internet doesn't care about size. That article got picked up, syndicated, circulated through veteran forums, small business boards, and old college networks. I didn't go viral, but I went visible. My name started popping up in circles I hadn't been part of since I was the guy who got humiliated at his own birthday. And guess who noticed? Yeah, her. She showed up at the garage. No call. No warning. I was in the back teaching Eli how to remove a carburetor without cracking the housing when Dell walked in, tight-lipped. "She's here," she said. I froze. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. Wiped my hands on a rag. "Let's finish this later, Eli." He nodded. Didn't ask questions. Kids got instincts. I stepped out front, and there she was, standing in front of the customer counter, wearing this careful little outfit like she'd spent an hour trying to look casual. Hair done. Lip gloss subtle. Smile defensive. Like she knew she didn't belong anymore. "Hi," she said. I didn't speak. She fidgeted with her purse strap. I saw the article. Still nothing from me. "You look good." Still nothing. She bit her lip. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to see, but I thought maybe." Her voice cracked. "Just a little. Maybe we could talk. Just for a minute." I looked around the garage. The tools. The grease-stained concrete. The Mustang hood wide open. My life, laid bare in honest labor. And then I looked back at her. Is this about regret or reputation? That stunned her. "What? You want closure? That's fine. You want redemption? Go to church. But if you're here because you saw a headline and remembered my name's worth something again, then turn around and walk." She blinked fast, trying not to cry. "I never stopped thinking about you," she whispered. "I did," I said. "And that's the difference." She stood there, waiting, like I might change my mind. But I didn't. She had once thrown a party to celebrate my birth and invited the man who'd meant the death of our marriage. She gambled my self-respect for nostalgia. She made her choice, and I'd made mine. So I walked past her. Didn't look back. Dell was in the back, arms crossed, watching. Not angry, not jealous, just proud. She handed me a bottle of water. That looked hard. I took it. "Nah, just overdue." She leaned in close. "You know what I love about you most?" I raised an eyebrow. "You never needed to be rescued. You just needed someone who saw you after the fire." I smiled at that. A real one. Because she wasn't a rebound. She was a rebuild. I was in the garage, engine grease under my nails, Eli humming some off-key tune beside me, when Dell walked in holding a small envelope. "No return address," she said. "Just your name. Handwritten." I wiped my hands, took the envelope, flipped it over. Cheap stationery, the kind you find at gas stations with "thinking of you" printed on the front like some sick joke. Inside? A letter. Short. Direct. From her sister. Yeah, that sister. The one who used to side-eye me at holidays and always introduced me to her boyfriends with a passive-aggressive, "He's better than the last one." Never liked me. Never tried to. But this? This was different. The letter read, "You don't owe me anything, and I'm not asking for a response. But I thought you should know, she's talking to someone new." Looks a lot like the last guy. Charm, money, attention. Same script, new actor. He's been sniffing around her again, and this one's got teeth. Her friends think he's trouble. Real trouble. She listens to no one, and honestly, I'm done trying. But you were the only one she ever actually respected. If you care enough to warn her, now's the time. Or don't. Just figured someone should know. L. I read it twice. Then a third time. Dell watched me from across the workbench, arms folded. Something wrong. I handed it to her. She read it silently. Then exhaled, slow. You believe her? She asked. Doesn't matter, I said. Not my circus anymore. But you're still thinking about it. Thinking, I said, isn't the same as acting. That night, I didn't sleep much. Not because I still loved her. I didn't. But there's something in a man that stirs when someone else is about to walk into the same storm he barely survived. I didn't want her back. But I didn't want someone else wearing my scars either. So I made a call. Not to her. To Dean. My lawyer. Do me a favor, I said. Run a name. 3 days later, Dean got back to me. The new guy? Multiple aliases. Bankruptcy trail across 4 states. Fraud charges. Civil suits for coercion, manipulation, even emotional abuse. A polished predator in a tailored suit. Dean said, your ex doesn't know what she's dealing with. I stared at the report. Lines of data. Red flags on every page. I know exactly what she's dealing with, I said. Because I used to be the fool who believed people like that weren't real. So, I made one final move. I typed an email. Didn't use her name. Didn't beg her to listen. Just facts. Bullet points. Dates. And a single sentence at the end. Don't confuse attention with affection. I made that mistake once. You don't get a second round. Then I hit send. That was it. No reply. No thanks. No tears. But 2 weeks later, Dean told me that guy disappeared. Quietly. Vanished like a roach when the light flicks on. And her? She didn't reach out. Didn't need to. Some truths don't need a thank you. Just a door that stays closed. There are questions you prepare for. Where were you born? Do you believe in second chances? Why did you leave her? And then there are the ones that come out of nowhere, land in your chest like a hammer, and start building something whether you're ready or not. Eli and I were under the lift again, tightening a frame bolt on an old '67 Charger. Classic lines. Rotten floor panels. Good bones underneath. My kind of car. He handed me a socket wrench without being asked. Kid was learning. And then, out of the blue, he said, "Can I take your name?" I looked up. Thought I misheard. Say that again? He hesitated, wiped his hands on his jeans like the words were still greasy. Like, your last name. Garrison. I want it. You fix things. You're real. I want to be that. I dropped the wrench. Not out of shock. Out of gravity. I'd been Mr. Garrison to him for over a year. He'd never had a real father figure. His biological dad was just a ghost in an empty truck cab, a man-shaped void who forgot birthdays and ignored letters. But I never once expected this. I sat back on the creeper, hands resting on my thighs. You talked to your mom about this? She said it's my decision. And what do you think my name means? He looked me dead in the eye. Kid didn't even flinch. It means you don't leave. My throat went dry. Later that night, I told Delegate thought maybe she'd say he was too young, or that I should wait, or that this was moving too fast. Instead, she just looked at me, tears dancing at the corners of her eyes, and said, "You've earned that name more than anyone who ever wore it." And that's when I realized. Everything I lost wasn't just meant to be replaced. It was meant to be rewritten. We talked to his mom. Papers were drawn. It's a process, sure, but the boy is patient and proud. At school, when they called his name at roll call and said the old one, he corrected them without blinking. It's Garrison now. He said it like he'd always known. And as the paperwork crawled through the system, something else happened. People noticed. Parents in the community. Veterans. Men who'd been through their own divorces, walked through their own fires. They started stopping by the shop. Not for repairs. For conversation. You're the guy who raised the boy that wasn't his. You're the man who taught him to build, not break. You're proof you don't have to be blood to be family. Word spread. Not fast, but steadily. Like oil through the gears of a well-loved engine. The Revival Project turned into a mentorship program. One day a week, kids from the local high school came in. I taught them the basics. Gave them tools. Taught them the one lesson no textbook ever had the guts to say out loud. Don't just fix what's broken. Build something better than what failed you. And that Charger? Eli and I rebuilt it from the ground up. On the day we finished, I handed him the keys. You earned this, I said. He didn't say thank you. He said, let's go for a drive. I hadn't spoken to my father in over a decade. Not since the night I told him I was marrying her. Back when I still believed the heart could outrun red flags. He'd leaned back in that worn-out recliner, sipping whiskey like it was gospel, and said, you sure she's not building a house on your name just to burn it down later? I told him he was bitter. Told him love wasn't like that anymore. Told him I wasn't him. He just nodded, real slow, like a man watching a storm roll in and knowing there's no stopping it. That was the last real conversation we had. Until he died. It happened quietly. Massive stroke. No fanfare. No slow decline. Just one moment here, the next gone. The kind of exit a man like him would have wanted. No pity, no tubes, no goodbyes. The funeral was small. Closed casket. His will was simpler than the obituary. I wasn't expecting to get much. Maybe the old pocket knife he used to carry. Maybe nothing. I was okay with that. But then the lawyer slid a folder across the desk and said, he left something. Only for you. I opened it. Inside was a deed. And a letter. The deed was for a plot of land. Back in our hometown. 35 acres of nothing special. Part forest, part creek, part swampy trash land that hunters used to sneak onto when they thought no one was watching. And the letter? It was short. My dad never wasted ink. Son, you thought I was warning you because I was mean. I wasn't. I just recognized a trap I once stepped in barefoot. You married your mother. Took me 20 years to figure that out. You? Took you 5. That's progress. This land's yours now. Do whatever you want with it. But know this. Every man needs a place where no one gets to rewrite his story. Make this yours. Or bury me there. Either way, it's yours now. Dad. I sat with that letter for a long time. Didn't cry. Didn't smile. Just read it. Twice. And realize something. I was like him. Not the broken parts. Not the sharp-tongued, whiskey-tempered ghost. But the man who learned late and paid every debt in full. Del and I took a trip out there that weekend. Brought Eli too. The road was rough, the weeds thick. But the bones? Solid. There was an old foundation out near the edge of the creek. Concrete slab, half cracked, covered in moss. I stood there, boots in the mud, and said he was going to build here. Del nodded. Why didn't he? Maybe he thought he didn't deserve peace yet. She looked at me. Do you? And I knew. Right then. I was going to build. Not a house. A retreat. A place where boys like Eli could grow into men without learning pain from the same damn textbooks we did. A place where broken men could show up, learn a trade, fix a car, mend a rib, swing a hammer, and remember what it meant to stand again. My father left me more than land. He left me a blank page. You don't prepare for a moment like this. You build peace. You build boundaries. You move on. But no matter how far you get, betrayal always leaves a back door unlocked. And she found it. It started with a school email. Nothing alarming. Just a visitor-logged and under-approved list notification. I almost ignored it. Del usually handled that stuff. But something about the timestamp hit funny. It wasn't a regular school day, and Eli had been homesick. So I called the school. Principal answers. Just a routine visitor check-in, she said. Everything's fine. I asked who signed in. She paused. Then she said her name. My ex. My stomach dropped. Not from jealousy. Not from fear. From the cold, hard calculation that always hits when someone you buried decides to start digging. I asked what she wanted. Just to say hi, the principal said. She told the staff she was a family friend. Family friend. A woman who never even met Eli when we were married. Who walked out of my life before he ever walked into it. Now she's showing up unannounced. Inserting herself like this was some bad soap opera. And Eli? He didn't say anything. Not that night. Not the next day. But by day 3, I found him sitting alone in the garage, sketchbook closed, hands in his lap. Something on your mind, bud? He looked up at me. Eyes uncertain. Hurt. She said you weren't really my dad. I sat down beside him. Real quiet. She said you're just pretending. It took everything in me not to react. Not to storm out and call her. Not to dig up every polite restraint I'd buried and burn it all down. But Eli didn't need to see rage. He needed to see truth. So I said, she's not wrong. His head snapped up. I'm not your blood, I said. I didn't make you. I didn't name you. I didn't show up when you were born. I showed up later. His lip trembled. Then why do you? Because I chose you. He blinked. I choose you every morning when we fix engines. I choose you when I ask how your day went. I chose you when I gave you my name. And I'll choose you again tomorrow. And every damn day after. He looked away, wiped his face with the back of his sleeve. But if that's not enough for her, I added, tell her this. Real fathers don't need biology. We just need presence. Later that night, I called Dell. Told her everything. She didn't yell. Didn't cry. She just said, she crossed a line. I nodded. And now? She asked. Now, I said. I remind her that the family she burned doesn't belong to her anymore. I sent her a letter. No emotion. Just lines. You don't get to rewrite stories you weren't part of. You gave up your seat at this table years ago. Do not approach my son again. Not at school. Not in public. Not under the illusion of family. If you want connection, try reflection. Because this family? It's built, not borrowed.